All right, what is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast weekly real estate tip, where every single week I share with you different tips, tactics, and strategies that I've learned on my 20-year-long real estate journey that have allowed me to personally become one of the top realtors and team leaders on the planet, with selling well over 7,000 homes and sharing this information with you in hopes that you take this information in, take massive action on it so you can go out there and create that real estate business and life that you truly know that you want and deserve. And today I want to talk to you about the two types of people that exist out there. There are two types of people, and I'm going to break down and share with you, something that I learned from Jim Rohn, also something that I learned from Friedrich Nietzsche. Similar message talking about these two types of people. They just framed it in different ways, and how to identify which type that you are. Because there's only two types. You just got to pick and choose what type that you are. And by picking and choosing and committing to the type of person that you are, the type of real estate agent, team leader, broker, and the type of real estate professional that you are, is 100% going to be the most important element that determines your overall success. All right, so I'm going to first start off with a story that I heard Tony Robbins share on a podcast. So you may know this, may not know this, but Tony Robbins, his first initial original mentor was Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn set him on this whole crazy trajectory that Tony Robbins is on. And if you don't know who Jim Rohn is, kind of the godfather of took self-development and kind of motivation, into the public speaking realm. So he was a businessman, but he was, kind of the first dude. I don't know if he was actually the first dude, but that really popularized it. It was like, taking it's like, okay, Napoleon Hill were to went massively mainstream during his lifetime, traveled all around the globe, giving huge business conferences, speaking, delivering his message, to the masses. Jim Rohn was kind of one of the pioneers in the space. So Tony Robbins is like a teenager, walks into this room. Here's Jim Rohn up there speaking at an event to, a bunch of people wanting to create success in business and life. And Tony Robbins, now this is the story that I heard Tony Robbins tell on his own podcast. Man, he was just blown away. Never heard anything like that, was never motivated like that, never inspired like that, like a whole new level. And he then came to the realization in his mind after hearing Jim Rohn during that speech. This is while Jim Rohn was up on stage speaking. He's like, man, I need to go work for this guy. Like, I need to be mentored by this guy. I need to work for this guy. I need to be in this guy's presence, whatever. So waited till, he's done speaking, the room cleared out. Tony Robbins then goes up while he has access to Jim Rohn and said, hey, I want to come work for you. And then Jim Rohn's like, okay, you can come work for me, but you must first complete all of my coaching, all of my training, all my materials. Like, you have to complete it if you want to come work for me. You got to understand it and you got to be a true believer in it. So then Tony Robbins is like, okay, cool. It's like, how much, like, how do I acquire that? And Jim Rohn told him, and at the time, let's just, adjust it for inflation. Let's just call that like, okay, 20 grand today. Okay, well, this is a teenage dude that was broke, didn't have money. Those of you that know Tony Robbins' story, came from nothing, had to just work even as a kid just to support his family. And then, dude, didn't come for, he's totally, total rags to riches story. Right. But he didn't have the money for it. So then he asked Jim Rohn, he's like, well, can you give me a loan, or can you, whatever, like, give them to me and then let me work for you and like, I'll work it off. Right. And Jim Rohn's like, no. And then he looked at Tony Robbins and he said to him, like, you got to figure this out. And he said these words, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here. So Tony told it way better than I'm telling, but Jim Rohn looked at Tony Robbins right in the eyes and said, there are two types of people on this planet, the type that needs to succeed and the type that needs to survive. You need to go figure out which type you are. And Tony was like, boom. Well received. I got it. Like, meaning that, dude, if you're the type that needs to succeed, you're going to figure the hell out how to go out there and raise those funds. You're going to figure it out. Then you're going to come and buy them. Then you're going to complete them and then do what it takes to come work for me. If that's what you want to do, and if that's what succeeding means to you, like, you are going to figure it out. You're going to be resourceful. You're going to go out there and figure this out. Then he went out there and did it. He went out there and got the loan that he needed, raised the capital that he needed to buy him. And then boom, was mentored by him and, set his trajectory for the success, that he's on now. Right. So I want you to think about that and really start breaking this down. Okay, with the two types of people out there, the type that needs to succeed and the type that needs to survive. And there's only two types out there. Now, I'm not just saying this from what Jim Rohn told Tony Robbins. I've assessed this, I've analyzed this. Also, like Jim Rohn says, don't be a follower, be a student, not a follower. Like, learn from people, but then come up with your own personal philosophy, come up with your own conclusions on this. Now, I've shared this before in more like short form content on social media, and I've gotten a lot of flack on this of saying that there's only two types out there. Because then people are like, well, there's people that are forced in a situation where they need to survive, in other parts of the world, other parts of the country, and look, I'm not saying that that stuff doesn't exist. We can't control our circumstances. We can't control some of those things that take place with that. But what I mean by this, at the core, there are regardless of circumstances that we are put in, you got people that need to go out there and succeed in those circumstances and then do whatever they can to make the best of their situation and maybe to get out of that situation and climb the ranks. I mean, there's no shortage of those success stories of people that have just come from the most nasty, heinous, circumstances, situations, and then, got themselves out of that and created the success they want to go out there and create, but if we look at this and let's just, okay, if you're watching or listening to this podcast, like more than likely, like you have all the opportunities in the world. Like your head lifted off the pillow. You got all the opportunities, all the resources, not talking capital, but there's nothing holding you back. It's not like, I don't know, you're in some third world country living under tyranny, and so forth with that. So let's just, okay, if we're living here in the United States, right? Like this maybe applies to us even more so. But even in those situations, again, there's so many, there's just too many success stories for me to buy in that these two personality types exist amongst everybody, regardless of current situation, current circumstance. This is really, either how we are innately wired or how we choose to rewire ourselves. I do not believe in that. Oh, I'm just wired this way. Like, okay, there's something to our overall wiring. But what I say I don't buy into that is I don't believe that we can't rewire ourselves. So I am somebody that when I was growing up in my, kind of teenage, tempted college years, early 20s, look, I wasn't a hard worker. I didn't have any drive. I was one of those that was totally content with just surviving. And then I had a situation happen to me that then I woke the hell up and made a decision to change my wiring and decided that, look, this isn't working for me. I need to become somebody that needs to succeed. And I changed my wiring intentionally, from that. So that this is, how Jim Rohn kind of puts these two types, the type that need to succeed versus the type that need to survive. Now, later in this podcast, I'm going to break down, okay, what the differences are, in really the importance of choosing to be the type of person that must succeed if you want to go out there and create success. Now, somebody else that actually is no longer alive today, but my favorite author, favorite philosopher, if you will, probably, one of my favorite, if not favorite human beings, like outside of my like wife and kids and whatnot, right? That isn't family, that I have, insane, crazy respect for, a hero, I guess, if you will, you can call him, is Friedrich Nietzsche. So Nietzsche called these two types the higher man and the herd. And then he had two types for even each of those, but that's, his philosophy back, and you can go read his content on that and books on that, kind of the subtypes of these. But you got the higher man, meaning those that need to succeed. And then you got the herd, meaning those that just need to survive. Now, the masses are those that just need to survive. So, whether you're in that succeed class or that survive class, or you're in the herd versus the higher man, these are the overall two types. Now, if we start breaking down, as Nietzsche calls it, the higher man, or as Jim Rohn calls it, those that need to succeed, these are people that have an overall life goal, that are attached to a definite purpose and or purposes that they must go out there and create while they exist with this one gift called life that we've been blessed with. These are people that operate with extreme intention. These are people that choose not to adapt the behaviors and not to accept the life and the behaviors of the masses, of the herd. Because again, those that want to survive in the herd greatly outnumber those that need to succeed or the higher man. So they are those that are fully committed. What is the definition of commitment? At least how I define it is you take the necessary actions that you must take regardless of your emotional state. So whether you're feeling down, whether you're feeling depressed, whether you're feeling, if you look at like Nietzsche, and one of the reasons why he's one of my heroes is, okay, he had extremely poor health. His vision, started failing very early on in his life. And at one point he goes, visits a doctor, and the doctor's like, man, your optic nerve is so strained under so much, like it was just deteriorating. And I can't remember the exact, medical issue condition that was going on with it. But the doctor told Nietzsche, he's like, look, you cannot read, you cannot write anymore. That's just creating more damage. But Nietzsche was like, no, I'm not going to listen to you. No matter how much pain it was, like he got to a point in his life where he could only write for about 20 minutes a day. He could only, it was so painful, but he never stopped on it. He pushed through that pain, no matter how difficult his life was. And Nietzsche was somebody that in his own lifetime, he never saw the greatness of his works, like that his success didn't come to fruition in his lifetime. Now today, he is known as, arguably the deepest thinker to ever exist, at least in recorded history, but his books never sold. Like he never came to massive levels of success, financial success. Like this was a dude that just struggled and struggled and struggled in so many different areas, but never stopped. Never, like he had this purpose. He had this mission. He knew what he wanted. He was, clear on his values, his philosophy, and never ever stopped with those. And people like that just inspire the living shit out of me. Like I don't know if I'll ever accomplish all of my goals, dreams, and visions that I have for me in my life. But I know that, hey, when I leave this planet, when I'm on my deathbed and I'm rolling back the tapes of what I did with this one gift called life that I've been blessed with, I don't want to have that conversation with myself of, man, I pissed away this gift called life. I wish I could do it over. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. That's 99% of the population has that conversation with themselves on their deathbed. No, for me, I want to be like, hey, man, maybe we accomplished my goals, dreams, and vision. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But I want to know with full certainty I did everything I could to get on the field, play ball. I wasn't a freaking spectator, did everything I could to go out there and make my goals a reality. And that to me is enough. Right? Like I just want to grow and expand in the best version of myself and do everything I possibly can to make my goals a reality that I have. So the higher man, AKA those that need to succeed, are fully committed. They understand that struggle is part of the process. They understand that struggle and pain is what facilitates and leads to growth. So unlike the herd, unlike those that just need to survive, that are addicted to comfort, that chase comfort, those that need to succeed, the higher man understands they seek discomfort, right? Because they understand that greatness only happens outside of their comfort zone. So these are the people that are willing to be uncomfortable. These are the people that are willing to go out there and face crazy stress. These are the people that are willing to go out there and face their fears. These are the people willing to go in there and put in that work, regardless of that pain, and then that have that positive relationship with struggle and pain. Because resistance is the only way we experience growth, right, in life. And this is something that the higher man and those that succeed abide by and operate by. And here's why it's also difficult. When a lot of times you hear on, whether it's podcast, books, or whatever, especially like when we're talking about business. Now, this is for any aspect of life that we want to go out there and, create success in. But I know we're all here, this is a business podcast, specifically real estate business podcast, but you hear things like, okay, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend most time with. You hear things of like, you got to surround yourself, with like-minded people. So those that need to succeed, man, they can't stand being around, or they have to limit their time massively around those that need to survive, because they just don't understand each other. They just don't get each other. Right? Those that need to survive, they look at those that need to succeed, and they're intimidated by them. They make it, like they can't grasp each other's goals, their drives, whatever. They make, the other, like those that just need to survive typically. Those that are just choosing to live a massive life of mediocrity, which is, again, the vast majority of human beings out there. When they see super successful people, okay, it makes them uncomfortable. Because it's just a reflection of, hey, that's what your life could have been if you didn't choose this path. But because you're somebody that is committed to just surviving, you're somebody that just needs to go out there and survive. What do most of them do, right? They start tearing down others, that have gotten to a higher level of success for them, to not then have to deal with the reality that they chose to not do that work. The higher man, those that need to succeed, they typically need a lot more time in solitude, so they can process their thoughts, right? So it's very difficult to spend that time with the herd. It's very difficult to spend that time with just those that need to survive. Because again, it's a total disconnect, man. It's like, don't rub your shit on me. All right. It's kind of like if you're a super positive person and you're just around negative people all day long, like in my office, I've got a rule, man, of like, there's just no negativity that we allow to be brought inside here. Not that somebody can't be stressed out and we can't deal in realities with a certain situation, but that's going to be a constructive process that we go through. I don't want any energy vampire sucks around me and in my world. And if somebody's that way, it's just like, get the hell out, dude. Like, we're here for winners to be, inside this organization, to be inside these four walls. This is where winners live. Doesn't mean you got to be winning at all times, but like, you got to be committed to winning. This is where we want those people. So we get those like-minded other people that are truly looking to succeed. So again, the higher man, those that need to succeed, again, they have a life goal. They have a definite purpose and or purposes that they're chasing, and they're really commit the majority of their life to going out there and making a reality. They operate with extreme intention. They are fully committed. They understand struggle as part of the process. Now, those that need to survive, this is the herd. This is the masses, right? As Nietzsche calls it, the herd. This is the masses. This is the people that choose to live life of decadence. This is people that choose a life of mediocrity, right? These are the people that just strive to just get through the day. These are the people that are spending, 8 hours a day gaming, 8 hours a day on social media, binging, all their Netflix shows because they don't have a purpose. They don't have a life goal, a life mission. These are the people that do everything that they possibly can to avoid pain, their obsession is comfort. They just want to be comfortable all the time. Oh, I can't go out because I got anxiety. I can't, and look, I'm not knocking anybody that has anxiety. Yeah, right. But those that need to succeed are going to go out there and face those awkward situations, regardless of the anxiety. But then those that just need to survive the herd, they're going to cave into that and then not go out there and take those actions, right? Because what they seek more than anything else, their quote unquote God, is comfort, right? So they obsess over comfort. They avoid pain. They're focused on just getting through the day, using, food, drugs, entertainment, just to get through the day. Where those that need to succeed, want to get from the day. They want to maximize every day. They want to maximize every minute, maximize every hour, to make sure that they can move the needle forward on their life's goals, on their life's purpose. And again, this isn't just about business. I'm not saying you just got to be a freak about business. Maybe you need to succeed at being a parent, great, amazing parent, however you define that. This can be translated into any aspect of life, but we then have to make that decision on which path are we committed to. Because there is no, well, I kind of want this and I kind of want this. It's like, no, you got to pick the path. Are you somebody that needs to succeed where you're going to figure it the hell out? Just like Tony Robbins did, he went there and figured it the hell out of what he needed to do to get Jim Rohn stuff, to be mentored by Jim Rohn. Or are you somebody that needs to just go out there and survive? And I'm not, you're going to use this as a plug for my, coaching program, because I don't plug that on this podcast. I probably should, but I don't, right? But with that, I've had coaching client or potential coaching clients that have reached out to me like, dude, I need your coaching. I need to go out there and crush it. But they're like, I got no money. I mean, I've had people go out there and donate plasma. Now my coaching program is like, breaks down like $5 a day, right? And not only am I committed to creating hands down the most effective coaching program in the industry, but my mission has always been at the same time to make it more affordable. And I'll put it run circles around, put it head to head with any coaching program that's even 40 grand a year, wherever. But I'm like, when I created this, I'm like, dude, I'm going to make it where it's cheaper than your daily Starbucks budget. So then anybody that truly needs my help can figure out how to afford it, but then, I've had people that have went out there and done that shit because they're like, I know that I need your coaching. That's an example of somebody that needs to go out there and succeed versus those that need to survive. It's like, oh yeah, I understand, Josh, that, your coaching pro, it's like $5 a day, not that I charge $5 a day, but if you do the math, right? But they're like, well, I'm not willing to give up my Starbucks drink, even though I know that your coaching program, your materials would help me grow my business. I'm the freaking, king of, creating 6 and 7 and 8-figure business owners, like they know, like, well, if they're willing to do the work, it will turn around. But, oh no, I need the comfort of my $4 freaking latte or $5, whatever the hell. I don't drink Starbucks, so I don't know what it costs, right? I'm just using that as an analogy, right? And again, I'm not trying to make this about the coaching program there. It just came to mind as I was sitting here talking about this. But just looking at, like, okay, if you are somebody that needs to succeed, you are going to figure shit out. Whether you have the money or not, you're going to figure out, okay, how do I be resourceful? How do I make this happen? And look, it doesn't take money to make money either. So I'm not making this about, oh, you got to go raise capital, right? But you're going to go out there and do the things that need to happen. It's not too infrequent that a real estate agent will reach out to me that is struggling, and they close one deal in 12 months, in a situation like that. And I'm like, okay, dude, like, man, you must have like a full-time 60-hour-a-week job, and real estate must be your side hustle. No, this is, my full-time job. Well, like, what are you doing, dude? Right? Like, how do you only close a deal a year unless you are intentionally trying to, and you're so addicted to comfort? I'm like, dude, if you did an open house every single day, 7 days a week, you can't not close deals. Oh, well, that's a lot of work, Josh. Okay, well then, yeah, struggling is a lot of work too. Not being able to pay bills is a lot of work. Like, pick your damn hard, right? But you gotta commit to, am I somebody that needs to succeed, or am I somebody that needs to survive? There's no 1 foot in, 1 foot out, 1 foot in one side, 1 foot in the other thing, dude. Like, you got to be full in, pick and choose that. And then from there, you got to commit to, okay, what do I need to do to make my goals a reality? And you can change your own internal rewiring. Coming from somebody that used to live a life of mediocrity in all aspects. I used to be morbidly obese. So I was like, I was in the herd deep, dude. College dropout, never made more than $10 an hour before I got into real estate. So just, struggling massively financially. And I was content with that. Right? Got myself up to 300 pounds because I just was so addicted to the comfort of food, or not quite 300 pounds, 276 pounds at my heaviest. I was content with that. I was somebody that, used alcohol to get through every day, used food to get through every day, but then I had a realization that, look, well, I'll just be totally upfront honest with you guys here. Which I always try to be here on this podcast. The most painful moments of my life. So my kind of deepest, darkest depression that I had, where I was planning out my suicide, my lowest moment was when I planned it out, and, it was not just plan it out, but I'm like, here's how I'm going to do it. And then I was like, okay, well, I got to shit or get the pot. So let's go execute on this thing. And at that moment, that was my low moment that scared the living hell out of me, of how did I let myself get to this point? And that was the point I decided to commit to overcoming depression and going from depressed to doing whatever I needed to do to go out there and create a fulfilled life. And I've had a couple bouts of mini, I don't want to say mini depression, but depression in between, that low moment and, where I'm at today. So this has been like a 20-year journey on my, success journey, my fulfillment journey. But every one of those times where I experienced depression wasn't because I was going through a hard time, with, let's just say, business or finances or any of that stuff. Look, I've made it, I've lost it, I've made it, I've lost it. Like, I'm one of those guys where it's like, oh, don't touch the hot stove. You tell me it's hot, don't touch it, you get burned. Like, I got to touch it. And then sometimes I got to touch it another time or two before I actually learn the lesson. Right. So, I'm trying to get better at that. But, I've had massive financial struggles, throughout my, my lifetime. But during those financial struggles, I wasn't depressed. Right. The only times I have been depressed is when I realized that I allowed myself to become somebody that was just in survival mode. I was operating as the herd, right? Versus what I know is innate, what is internal of how I'm supposed to operate, which is somebody that needs to succeed, somebody that needs to grow, somebody that needs to succeed, somebody that needs to, grow and expand in the best version of myself. Because every time I'm in growth mode, every time I'm on my mission, I'm on my purpose, I'm growing, I'm expanding, no matter how hard that freaking struggle is that I'm experiencing while I'm chasing that, no matter how bad that resistance is, even those times where I got to pull all-nighters and again, losing money, whatever, man, I still feel good during those times, even during those times of struggle, because I'm operating with intention of how I know I'm supposed to be operating. And that's that signal of, okay, man, am I somebody that's wired? Am I somebody that's supposed to, am I somebody that needs to succeed or needs to survive? Am I a higher man or am I part of the herd? And look, I don't think that there's anything innately wrong with people that choose to be part of the herd. I just think that we should just be honest with ourselves of, okay, which one are we? Because you kind of need the herd. You kind of need some people living in mediocrity, and then you need some people going out there and chasing greatness. But if you are somebody that's wired to go out there and chase greatness, if you are somebody that's wired to succeed and you're allowing yourself to operate as somebody that just is in survival mode or operating as somebody in the herd, it creates that internal war. And I've just at least found through my experience that, it's like when I'm depressed, man, that's just call it God, call it the universe, however you want to title, label that, it's the signal to wake me the hell up, to get me back into congruency with my intention. So I'm operating the way I'm supposed to operate in this lifetime. So my recommendation to you is to take time, journal this out, take time, reflect on this, and identify which type that you are. And then once you know the type that you are, then live in congruency with the type that you are. Take actions to go out there and become the person that you're capable of becoming, that you're supposed to be. So anyway, I hope that you found this helpful. Make sure to check out gsdmode.com. If you enjoy this real estate content on this podcast, I know that this one wasn't so much about real estate. I think that this is something that might be beneficial and helpful to anybody out there. But got a lot of free resources on gsdmode.com, my free ebook, free 3-hour in-depth masterclass on 6 steps to 3xing your real estate business or more in the current challenging market that we are in. You can also schedule a 100% free coaching blueprint strategy call with me personally. If you don't know exactly what you need to be doing and focusing on from a growth standpoint inside your real estate business, more than happy to jump on a 60-minute free one-time Zoom call with you where we'll break down your business and I will walk you through exactly what my recommendation is to get you from where you're at to where you want to go. All that you can access at gsdmode.com. All right, guys, I hope that this was helpful. Keep crushing it. Keep kicking ass. I will see you next time. Peace.